So this is the new service development cycle. Some of you, if you have like kind of taken product and brand management, right? There is a something called new product development cycle, right? NPD and NSD. What we are going to like focus on the service design part, not on the product design. Some steps will remain same. Maybe product design will have certain additional steps, 3 or 4 steps, whatever is mentioned here, right? Again, if somebody asks you in the interview, if you want to design a new product, what are the steps you will take, right? You can always talk about at least these 4 steps, right? Additionally, like I said, product design will have certain additional testings, certain additional validation steps. So that is new product development, and it is similar to new service development, right? So when the first step, if you see it is the development, right? So it is not actually development. Think about it as an idea generation or an idea development, right? So it is not actually development where you have designed a product. So in our like kind of traditional, when you talk about development, so what does it mean? I have designed now and I'll get into the development part, right? But at least in this framework, right? The first step is development. Again, development here is idea development, right? So think about in this way, right? For the project or the second part of your presentation, right? So you find certain gaps in the market. Let's say right now, whenever this monetization, demonetization problem happened, right? People did not have cash in hand, right? It is a long queue standing in front of ATMs to withdraw cash, right? Now that is the challenge. That is the problem customers are facing, right? So now you'll think of ideas, right? What are the things or what are the processes, what are the steps you can do as a bank or as a third party agency or as an entrepreneur to solve that problem, so that people do not waste time, people do not have to put a lot of effort to withdraw cash, right? Most of the people, again, our internet banking was not that like kind of robust or that kind of accessible to all the customer. If you have a mobile phone, it becomes very difficult for few of the banks have that kind of mobile or internet banking. So that is the challenge you are trying to solve, right? So always start with the problem, right? Always start with the customer problem. Most of the times what happens where entrepreneur fails is that they start with the idea. Okay, I have this idea, it looks good. It might be looking good on paper, but if it is not solving a problem for a customer, right? Then we'll get into the customer value equation. You are solving a problem for a customer at what price, right? Because most of the things in this world are becoming free, right? Premium model. So in that case, if you are charging a high cost to a customer, right, nobody will buy your product or service, right? So that is again. So those are the few things you have to think of in the beginning, rather than this idea looks good. And most of the business persons, entrepreneurs fails like that, right? Okay, let's. I have 50 lakh or 1 crore rupee. Let us go ahead and build a restaurant on Kit Road, or let us put a service center garage, right? And it is not about the smaller companies, even the bigger companies. Okay, we have that much cash, let us put into certain ideas, right? If you do not have a good screening mechanism, right? If you think idea generation and screening part in the idea development phase is most important, right? There are various ways to screen ideas, right? It is kind of a funnel. Like if 100 ideas are coming at the end, you should be able to screen out or find 5 best ideas out of those 100 ideas, right? And that is a big challenge for companies, right? Because there will be lot many ideas. If I go and ask any of you, give me 2 ideas each, right? What can be done? Out of 25 people, 50 ideas, how to find out 2 or 3 ideas which will be bringing revenue to a company, right? And that step has to be taken care in the first step itself, idea development. Again, development here doesn't mean that we have started developing a product or a service. Development means idea development, right? So idea development, there are many steps. You might do an internal development process where there is a specific innovation team who might be working on that, or you might crowdsource, right? Many companies, what they do, they ask customers, they ask crowd, right, to give them ideas, what are the things they want, right? So that is a good way to build your like portfolio, what kind of product or services customers want, right? Then next step is concept development and testing. Here again, it is not you are building a we'll in the next slide we'll discuss what is that, but you are just building your product or service in a small scale. right? Just to test that, okay, whether people will buy it or people will use it, right? Again, it is not a beta testing or alpha testing. It is just a in-house. You are building a service. Let's say you want to kind of provide a what else? Let's say car rental services, right? Let's say you find out or car washing services, right? You found out that people find it difficult to find time, though car owners to find time to go to the like kind of service center and get their car washed. Now you thought of, okay, that is the problem, that is the problem statement. Now you think of, okay, how to solve that problem, rather than a customer coming to the service center to get that. Only obviously for the services they have to come, but for the car wash they need not have to come. If I have a portable system which will go to different apartments and wash their cars, right? So I'll employ few people, right? So that is your kind of initial idea, right? So how to do that, how to concept testing will happen, might be you will start with your own apartment, will try with your 2 or 3 family relatives, right, who own car. You will check that how much time it is taking, how much money they are willing to pay for this, right? So these are the not a full scale service, full scale product. You are just trying testing water, right? So you are just trying to see that whether there is actually a need or people are liking or not, right? Just you are testing your idea, not the product, not the service, just the idea part, right? So that is what the idea development, the first step, idea development works, right? Then the analysis, which is again important. Now I have an idea. Now I will think about to implement this idea, to convert that idea into a product or service. What is my monetary cost? What is my infrastructure cost? What, how much employee cost? How much it will be implemented to process cost, right? So you have to list down those kind of costs. Again, it can never be exact, right? So whenever a business case is developed, lot of assumptions need to be made, right? None of the assumptions or some of the assumptions may not be true, right? But still you have to go. Nobody knows the future, right? Think about this way. The car wash service. If I want to start a car wash service in Bhubaneswar, right? And next year I have to project a revenue. I have not started that, right? So now I'll think that I have to do a guesstimate. I'll think of, okay, this many apartment, out of this many apartment, let's say 10% of the people or 20% of the people own cars, right? So there are, let's say, 10 lakh people who stay in apartment in Bhubaneswar. Out of that 20%, 2 lakh people or 1.5 lakh people own cars. Out of that, maybe 10% of the people might be willing to take my service, right? So like that, you have to build your business case. And for each of the assumptions, you should have certain justifications, right? And how much price they'll pay for a car wash. Right now, you'll go and check that in the service center, how much they pay. Maybe for a car wash, 150 rupees, 200 or 300 rupees, right? So if you're going them and solving their problem, right, how much you will charge, right? So those are the revenue part. Then in the cost part, how many what are the equipment you will keep, how many employees you have to keep, do you need to have a licensing, right? So these are the, again, I'm just giving one example, it can be for anything, right? So you have to build that business case, right? Now you'll see whether your business case is making sense, right? That means whether you'll be able to make profit within, obviously very few businesses will make profit in the first year, right? So to people to know your brand, people to know your service, it will take few like months or few years, right? So at least whenever you build a business case, it has to be for 3 to 5 years, right? Generally, it is for 5 years, in some cases 3 years. So what I have to show that within 3 years, whatever revenue I'll get after doing the discounting cash flow and all those calculations, it is making profit for me, right? So my net present value of whatever my project cost and revenue, right? Net present value is positive, right? So that is some calculation you have to do, right? And that calculation is based on many more assumptions, right? Because you nobody will give you, okay, these are the forecast and everything is perfect on that, right? Lot of assumptions you have to make, right? And once you say that, okay, I have 10 ideas. So in the first step, out of 100 ideas, you screen 10 ideas. Out of 10 ideas, you will find out, okay, these are the 2 or 3 ideas which is giving me much more profit and which will customer, actually it is solving customer's problem, right? It might be internal customer, it might be external customer also, right? And those ideas who have a highest value, right? Those 2 or 3 ideas will be selected to get into the design phase, right? So first idea development, then analysis part where you are doing creating a business case. So business case is nothing but you are finding out the revenue projection for next 3 to 5 years, cost projection for next to 3 to 5 years, then finding out what is your total profit after discounting cash flow, after taking away the interest rate, right? If that is positive or your IRR rate is more than the bank interest rate, then those ideas make sense, right? So idea development, then the analysis part. Analysis basically the financial analysis most of the time, right? Then you move into the design part. Now the actual work happens. Now the investment will happen. You might go to certain venture capitalist if you are an entrepreneur, or if it is a business, they will fund you certain amount of money to start the work, right? Now you'll start the service design because you are talking about the service part. Processes, right? So what kind of processes I have to put in place to carry out that car wash services, right? uh, Whether it will be manual, so people have to fill a form, how people will book the appointment, how much time duration it will take to wash a single car, right? How the scheduling will happen, right? What is the feedback format, right? What is the payment format, right? So all for the process, right? Starting from the booking, scheduling appointment to payment to feedback, right? Everything need to be designed, right, in the beginning, right? At least you can think of, right? On paper, you can have those in place. Then marketing program, right? That is again because unless people know about your product or services, how you will get revenue, right? So what kind of market, whether it is digital marketing or traditional marketing, if traditional marketing at what format, right? Again, it will vary from each product, each service, right? So there is not a single marketing program which will work for all the product or services, right? Then personal training, right? In a service, mostly in service, right? In product, what is happening? You are designing a product, product is manufactured, and that's it, right? You might be able to use the same channel structure. Think about ITC. Let's say ITC started a new, let's say Noodle or new like kind of a whichever FMCG product. So for anything, right? So they most of the time they'll be using the same channel, right? They are now not creating a separate channel for it, right? They have an existing channel, sales people are there, they'll just say that okay, this is a new product. Think about a service, right? Most of the times services are being provided by the your employees. Employee need to be trained around it, right? New services, wherever there is a new services launch, your whole like whichever employees are the front end employees who are going to interact with customers, they need to be properly trained, right? So that is where the personal training comes into picture, right? Think about banks, think about hospitals, think about your airports, right? Your employees, front end employees, right, need to be trained because they are interacting with customers, right? Right now due to COVID, like you did that case study, right, on the airport services, right? No employee interaction, right? For that also training has to happen. Then in that case, if kind of from the employee interaction, I'm moving into a digital boarding pass, everything through digital system, right? How that will work, right? For that also you need to train your employees. Right now what is happening, if you go to a yeah, you're traveling through air, right? Most of the airport check-in process, boarding, everything you have to do on your own, right? Very less employee interaction to avoid this kind of COVID like kind of resurgence, right? So in that scenario, how your employee need to be trained, right? What are the roles your employee will play, right? So that are the training has to happen, right? Then service testing. So this is here actually your service testing happen because you have designed a service, you have a actual service or a product to test. Here what has happened, here actually concept idea is being tested on paper, right? If it will work or not. In the first step in development phase we are talking about, that is the concept testing. Here actually you have created a prototype, you have actual service to test on, actual product to test on, right? So that let's say you have created a car wash service and you have created a website for it, you have invested a lot of money in your website, right? You have invested a lot of money in your mobile application, right? Now the actual testing will happen. Now you'll like ask people, ask your customers, ask many people to download that application, go to that website and book appointment. Now you'll see that how the once they book the appointment, whether it is showing in your database, and how you are going to manage it. Full test run. In this case, it was just in a paper. Okay, I'll create a website. You will list down the processes. You'll go and physically meet certain customers, find out their problems. So that is the idea concept testing. But when you talk about the testing and design phase, right? Here actually you have created a website. You have created a mobile application through which people can book the appointment for car wash, right? Rather than they going to customer like kind of service center. Service center people go to those apartment and wash the car at the scheduled time, right? So that is the service you are providing, right? And you have designed mobile application, you have a website, people can book appointment, your employees will actually go and do that service, and you'll find out how much time it is taking, what are the problem customer is facing, what are the chances of service failure, right? Let's say right now a customer has to go for a like a out of city tour, and he needs or she needs to wash their car, right? And they have booked the appointment. Suddenly the employees or your service personnel who are going, their own car breakdown or their own vehicle breakdown, then what is the backup, right? So everything needs to be tested, right? Every like fail case scenario, if this fails, then what next? If your website or mobile application is not working, is there a backup system? Can people call on a number or a WhatsApp their details, right? So that service can be done, right? So for every system processes you need to have a backup, and your training personnel, sorry, your employees need to be trained accordingly, right? Then test marketing, right? Now once you have the actual service in place, right, now you do the test marketing part. You ask your customers to test the actual application, actual website, and you do that trial run, right? You do not charge any customers during that period. You are just, so your friends, your families, you go and you ask them to book an appointment through your website, mobile application. You send your employees to do those, provide those kind of services, and you find out that whether everything is working properly or not, right? So that is where the test marketing, then you build up those whatever the billboards, you provide those kind of teasers. You say that okay, we are coming to Bhubaneswar, this is a new thing, you will save time, right? Whatever the marketing strategy you have, right, whether digital or traditional, you go ahead and start marketing your product, right? Then once that is done and you find out that yes, lot of people are looking for that kind of services, now the full scale launch, right? You start hiring employees. You find out that where you will put your like kind of where the employee will be stationed, because you need locations, right, to keep equipment, to keep people, right? What is your next stage? If Bhubaneswar, then Salem move into Cuttack, Raulkela, or other like kind of states, right? So those are where you have to think of a full scale launch, right? Then once launch of product or service has happened, what has gone wrong, what has gone right, what can be improved, right? So those kind of review need to be happened, right? Then once it is established, then it is a regular work, right? Then business will like kind of, it is a regular operation, right? Now this is the step where you, so this is kind of a project, right? So you start with the idea, you do a business case, then you start with the designing of product, then full scale launch, right? Once full scale launch has happened, you will hand it over to the regular operations, service operations, right? So this is how a new service design cycle works, right? Again, same thing can be applicable for a product development also, right? Any questions or any doubt on this? So if you see in the central phase, you will have certain kind of enablers, right? So your organizational context, right? Why you are as an organization are creating that new service, right? If you are an entrepreneur, that might be your only one business, right? You are starting with that business. If it is a big business, let's say a retail bank, right? They are starting with a new payment format, right? People will not go to ATM. People, if they want cash, right? You're like basically ATM at door, right? You will send a vehicle. People can withdraw cash from the like kind of from wherever they want, right? Now let's say HDFC or ICICI or SBI bank, right? Rather than right now, what happens? Generally, the need of cash has reduced, right, due to COVID, due to demonetization, right? But let's say still we need cash in certain instances, right? So for that, thinking about going to ATM, maybe standing in a queue, right, is a problematic problem for a customer, right? Now a organizational context will come into picture, right? HDFC, ICICI or SBI, right? If they think that, okay, I'm charging 200 or 300 rupees as ATM charges, people don't want to give that charges, how I can like kind of remove that pain, remove that problem from customers' mind. So now what I'll do, rather than customers coming to my ATM machines, can I have a portable ATM machines which will go to different apartments, and whenever customer need is there, right, they can withdraw money, right? So there will be a specific period where the portable machines will be available, right? So that can be my organizational context, right? Or if it is an entrepreneur, right? There was a due before COVID actually, right? Think about the petrol or diesel, right? You go to different stations, like kind of fuel stations, and fill up your car or vehicle, right? Think about it this way: if uh, the machine, dispensing machines, come to your apartment, come to your doorstep, and whatever 2 liter, 3 liter petrol or diesel, whatever you want, they can dispense it. So that is a problem they can solve, the companies, right? If that system can be created, right? And I think there was a company, there was an entrepreneur, I'm not sure whether still in working or not. Ratan Tata invested in that, right? So they were actually started dispensing petrol or diesel at home, right? They had a tie-up with these oil marketing companies, IOCL, HPCL, BPCL, and they started that system, right? So that is it. So you can think of that as a service, right? Organizational context, rather than people coming to like kind of fill up petrol or diesel. Now you are thinking of taking that service to customers, taking the ATM services to customers, right? Teams, what kind of people you have, right? So that is most important, right? Most of the times companies fail or entrepreneurs fail if you do not have a correct team, right? You might be a very good manager, but you might not have a good understanding of technology, how the websites work, how the mobile applications work. And if you do not have a CTO who can build that or think of that kind of product design or a service design, your team will fail. Or you might be a very good, and most of the companies fail due to other way. Many people are very good, have very good technical understanding, but they do not have a good managerial counterpart. Because see, if I have a good engineer, I will have a very good idea, okay, this will work, because that idea is created by me and I will be very fond of that idea, right? But actually whether it has a value, somebody who has worked in a business for 10 or 15 years, right, they will have a better understanding, right? And most of the time the conflict happens due to that, right? So you should have a team. And I forgot who told that quote, if everybody is agreeing with your idea, then you have a very bad team, right? And most of the entrepreneurs fails due to that. They hire people, they recruit people who actually like kind of do not argue with them, think that their idea is the best idea, right? And that's why what happens when idea fails, everybody goes away, right? So you need people like somebody like devil's advocate, right, who can challenge your idea, who can say that why this idea will fail, right? Then obviously tools and processes, right? You should have, like, let's say if you want to implement this kind of systems, right, what kind of tools you need, those mobile applications, websites, if not, what you need to implement them, right? So these are the enablers for any kind of new product or service design and development, right? So in the center there is a product or service what you are going to create. Under that, or the revolving around that, you have people, your employees, your systems, your processes, and your technology, right? Most of the times in today's world, right, technology is a big enabler, right? You cannot think of a product and service which won't be requiring a new technology or a new processes, right? So that is how your new service design cycle works. Any questions on this?
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, in the full launch part in the service design, sir, suppose I am developing any app for the market. In that context, sir, what are the criteria during the full launch I have to make it perfect for the market? What are the criteria I have to consider to make it perfect?
So that time you need not have to consider any criteria, right? Those testing already have done during design phase. So you need not have to have a
Okay, sir.
criteria to be met in the full launch. Full launch means it has been validated. Now it is only for a where you have to launch it, how many customers, how many employees. So those are the few things you have to keep in mind. So it is not that you are validating your idea, validating your product. That has been already done during your service testing and pilot run. Everything, anything you want to test, that will happen in the design phase. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now again, an important concept, there is something called minimum viable product, right? MVP, right? Minimum viable product is something. So again, the name minimum viable product, right? What are the minimum requirement of customers you are meeting, right? Whether it is viable, whether you can build that, right? So product can be replaced by a service also, right? Minimum viable product or minimum viable service, right? So think about in this way. If you want to design a system where people will move from one place to other, right? You don't start with designing a wheel, then connecting few wheels, then designing a chassis, then building a final car, right? It won't happen like that. You start with a smaller system. So that is the meaning of minimum viable product, right? So if the problem you want to solve is transportation of persons or family from place A to place B, what is the minimum thing people require, right? They can travel, they can walk also, right? They can run also, right? They need certain efforts saving, right? Otherwise, without any transportation system, people like 1,000 years back, so this system was people used to walk, right? Now you are creating that minimum product, right? So that is the difference between the first how the product is being designed and in the second step how the product is being designed. You don't start with a definition, okay, I have a final car, let me start building the good wheels, then I'll design a good engine, right? And that is a bad way of designing services or product. You start with a smaller transportation system which can take or which can help people to travel from place A to place B. One step two, that will like from a skateboard from to a scooter, scooter to a cycle, cycle to a motorcycle, from motorcycle to a car, right? So again, it is a theoretical design you are thinking of, right? Not necessarily that okay, a scooter you design and you jump into the car, right? So think the intent behind it, right? So always remember that what is that minimum part. Minimum means that every step, whenever you are designing or when you are delivering a product or service, it is solving the customer's problem, right? Think about a website. Let's say a small grocery shop owner or a electronic stores, local electronic store, right? So they want to build a website, right? What will be your minimum viable product for that? You might be able to create a website like Amazon, every inbuilt system, right? And maybe certain advanced like VR or augmented reality AR technology, right? But that will take 3 years to build that kind of website, test it or launch it, right? Now you think of what is the minimum requirement of a customer, right? So when you build a website, maybe during building of website, first step or the first version of your website, at least people should view what kind of products are available in your website. They might not order, they might not pay for it. They can only view what are the products available in your grocery shop or in your electronic store, right? So think about in this, in your some of you who are staying in apartment, there will be local grocery or inside apartment there will be shops, right? Most of the times what happen, and that is the challenge I face. I go to the store, then I realize that okay, their milk has run out. They do not have milk. Then I have to go there in the evening, right? Due to COVID, let's say I cannot go outside or some situation is like that, right? Now let's say if they have a website where they can show me how much kind of unit of different product or service, different grocery items they have, right? So that is the minimum thing I want at this point of time, right? And that if that is the website can be built and it can only show that okay, what kind of product or grocery item that shop has, right? So if milk is not there, then I might place advance order or I might go to some other place, right? Rather than going there and wasting my time, right? So that is the minimum thing. Next thing will be, can somebody can you improve your website or build a new feature that from the apartment itself, I rather than going to the shop, I can order the item, right? So for that, what are the requirement is there? Ordering part, then the payment part and the delivery part. So you need to have to go step by step, right? So might be ordering will happen and payment will happen through cash because you do not have a payment integration system. Because if you wait to create a website integrating payment through Mastercard, Visa, or let's say UPI system, it will take 3 to 6 months. Rather than doing that, now start with a system. Only ordering can happen and payment has to happen through regular channel, cash, or you have a register where the customer will sign and at the month end, or they'll pay certain advances, right? Then within 3 months, 6 months, the time you can integrate UPI or other systems what you have in the website itself. So whenever customers are ordering, they can pay the like make the payment there itself through the website or the mobile application, right? So that is the meaning of minimum viable product. Every step when you are delivering a product or a service, right, you are meeting certain customer requirement. It is not that after 3 years or 5 years you will be able to meet the customer requirement. At each stage when you are delivering a product or service, you are meeting certain customer requirement, minimum requirement, right? So that is the minimum viable product, or in our case, it will be service, right? Experience will be something what is customer needs. So your whatever product or service you have made, that is so good in meeting those minimum requirements that customers are starting liking that and trying to like that word of mouth is like kind of they are delighted with your product or services. So you have that minimum. Let's say I have designed a website, right? Only it is showing the product whatever in my store, but it is so user friendly, right? And it is a certain artificial intelligence I have embedded, so it knows the customer likes and dislikes, right? What I regularly check. Yeah, so after searching 2 or 3 times milk, next time when I just log in into website, it shows whether milk is available or not. Because now the machine learning or artificial intelligence part has been embedded where the system knows what are the like search, what are the searches I regularly make in that system, right? So that will be a good user experience, right? So you move from you creating a minimum viable product or service to providing minimum viable experience, that is minimum MVE, right? So that is the definition of minimum viable product and minimum viable experience, right? Any questions on this? Okay. So now most of the times we talk about value, right? Value is maybe a ratio or maybe equation, right? So here we are taking this as a equation where two things are like one is numerator, one is denominator, right? Numerator is basically what profit or what benefit a customer is getting, right? Obviously the result, right? Let's say I have a car wash service, right? Where people can book appointment and my employees will go and provide the car wash services, right? So that is the result customer is getting, right? How much effort they are saving, right? How much worry they are like kind of do away with, right? They need not have to worry. So every 1 week or 2 weeks, whatever like plan they have taken, my employees will go and do the car wash in front of their apartment itself, right? Then the process quality, right? How much effort the customers or how less effort customer is putting to reach out to the company, right? So that will define your process. Think about in this way, if you go to a government bank, right? They might be very reliable, they might be very trustworthy, right? But to build a account or to create an account, you know that you might have to spend 1 day or a half a day of your time, right? Lot of, or if you go to a government office for some regular or land work or something, right? You know that your 1 day is lost, right? So that is where the process quality comes into picture. That is, end product or service might be very good, but if the process quality is very poor, right? Let's say there is a website which is providing lot many discounts or like very good product services and discounts are also good, but most of the times website is down whenever you're going to make a payment and the server crashes, right? So there the process quality is not good. Your end product or services might be very good. You are delivering a very good product, very good service, right? Price is also good, right? But the process quality, let's say you are let's say your Zomato or Swiggy, if during payment or during ordering, most of the times the application crashes, you might be getting like many more good things out of Zomato or Swiggy, discount or the like kind of flexibility of ordering from many restaurants, right? But if the process part is not good, their application is not performing as it should perform, right? Then that is a bad experience, right? So these two need to be always taken care of. Obviously, most of the times people only think about results in terms of a product or a service. They forget about process quality. If let's say there is a delay in order, or if there is a let's say order was partially fulfilled, you have ordered certain quantity and that was delivered half, or it was not of proper quantity, right? So you have a complaint. How quickly your customer care service is handling those complaints, right? So that is a complaint handling process, right? Whether that quality of the process is good or not, right? So that also should be in your mind when you are designing a service, right? Because these two are the benefits customers are getting from you, right? The final product or the service and the process part, how good your processes are. Then what are the cost to a customer? So that is the whatever price you are charging, right? Customer might have to pay certain cost to avail your product or to avail your services, right? Then cost of acquiring the services, right? Think of in this way. You are working in a bank and you have ATM services. Price to a customer availing that ATM services is yearly 200 or 300 rupees your bank is charging to customer's account for ATM maintenance services, right? So that is a price to the customer. Cost of acquiring the service. That means every time a customer is going to the ATM, so that is the cost, whether it is a transportation cost or effort cost. That is obviously a cost to a customer, right? So that also
Is
you
the
have to
debit
take.
card charges also in bank?
Yes, so that is your price to the customer, right? But every time you have to renew the debit card, right? So you have to follow the certain processes, right? So that is a cost to acquiring the service, right? So remember, both are important. One is the charges you are charging the customer to avail the services, right? And the second part is how much effort a customer is putting to take the service, right? Let's say creating a bank account, right? That might be free. Price to a customer is free. But if a customer has to come to your bank for a half a day or one day they are staying in your bank, that is a effort. That is a cost of acquiring the service, right? You might not, you might say that it is a zero account, zero balance account. That means they, and there is no charges for the first 3 years. There are no charges. So price to the customers is zero. But cost of acquiring the service, because there is a long queue, lot many customers are coming to open the account in your bank. People have to wait for half a day or one day to complete all the processes, right? So that is the cost of acquiring the services, right? So always remember these four parts. It is not only about the what is the price, what are the value, what are the benefits you are providing to the customer, and what are the price they are paying. It is also about the processes, right? So that's why I told, rather than people coming to your ATM machine, can you take the ATM machine to the people? So in that case, what you are reducing? The cost of acquiring the services, that you are making as zero or very less, right? People need not have to transfer, like travel 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers to go to ATM and withdraw cash. Now the ATM machines will come to their apartment, if that is the service you are providing, right? Any question or any doubt on this?
Sir,
So
in
can
this
you give another
process,
example of price of to the customer apart from
Price
the
to the,
banking service?
yeah, so go to the restaurant, right? Restaurant, let's say earlier when Zomato or Swiggy was not there, at a night time you want to order food, right? So what used to happen? Price to the customer, whatever price you are paying. Let's say you order biryani or pizza, 200, 300 rupees. That is the price to the customer. Cost of acquiring the service. Before Zomato, Swiggy, what will happen? You'll go to the restaurant. You'll travel at the night time, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. You do not want to travel, but you still travel because you have not cooked food at home. You have to go there. So that is the cost of acquiring the service. That effort you are putting, that money you are spending to go and get that service, right? So that is the cost of acquiring the service. Or let's say barber, right now you need a haircut, so you are paying 150 or 200 rupees for a haircut, but you have to go to the barber shop, right? So that is the cost, that transportation cost, that effort cost of waiting. So it is not that you will go and you are the first in the line. You might have to wait half an hour or 1 hour to get your haircut, right? So that is the cost of acquiring service. Now urban club comes into picture. Prices they are charging 300 rupees or 400 rupees, but they are saving here cost of acquiring the service. They are coming to your doorstep. So these cost of acquiring the service is becoming zero or very less, right? So the barber will come to your place during your scheduled time and do the haircut, right? You need not have to wait. You need not have to like go through your own vehicle. So obviously, whatever 10 rupees, 20 rupees, that is a transportation cost, right? It is not that petrol or diesel is free. So that is the cost of acquiring the service.
Okay.
So strategic positioning through process structure, right? Any services you can think of, right? So think about in a T structure, right? T, there is a line, horizontal line, then there is a vertical line. So when I think about that vertical line in a T, right? If I write T, horizontal line, then vertical line. So the length of the vertical line is degree of complexity, right? How many steps I have to go to get that service, right? So if you go to a bank and you have to open an account, or if you go to a airport, let's say you are traveling through airline, or if you're going through railway, right? What are the steps to get the final service, right? So you might have to check in, you have to like provide those baggage tags, you have to go through security check, right? Then whatever the documentation, like if you have not booked the ticket, you have to book the ticket prior, right? So everything included, 5 or 6 steps. After that only you are availing the air travel. Similarly for railway, it might be little less, right? You still have to book a ticket, security check, but there is no boarding, like you do not know the boarding pass and all those things. That is a single ticket that works for you. But in airline, what happens? You need to have a ticket. Then the day when you are traveling, there has to be a boarding pass. Showing the ticket, they'll check your like identity ID card and give you a boarding pass, right? But in a railway, what happens? You have a ticket and that's it. There is nothing, no separate document. Obviously, during transportation or when you are traveling, TT will come and check the ticket only, right? So in the air travel, that is a next additional step, right? You have to have a boarding pass. Somebody will, without boarding pass cannot board the airplane, right? So degree of complexity means how many steps a customer takes to find to get the final service. Think about a retail bank like SBI or a traditional bank, right? If you want to open an account, right? So you have to go to the bank, first fill out a form, go to one employee, then he will send you to another employee, right? How many steps in there in the process? 2, 3, 5. So you have to list down that and you have to reduce that because nobody likes to follow 10 processes, right? Earlier, just imagine Aadhaar might be a very kind of a controversial concept, but still it helps in lot of times. With Aadhaar or with that kind of identity, right? Lot of identity check has been do away with. Otherwise, 5 years or 10 years back, you have to have a ration card or a voter ID if you are from a different location. Let's say I'm from Odisha and I was staying in Bangalore, then that voter identity won't work, right? So lot of challenges used to be there, right? Now with Aadhaar or with a uniform identity, that problem has been solved, at least to certain extent. There might be other challenges associated with your privacy and all those things, but at least some problem it is able to solve, right? So that is where your degree of complexity is getting reduced. I can, like, there are certain banks where they are letting me open my account without going to a bank. I'll provide my documentation online through a website. That check will happen and my account is getting created. So complexity is being reduced from 5 or 10 steps to only 2 steps. I'll upload my documents. That documents will get verified and I have an account in my name. Earlier, what used to happen? I'll go to a bank, I'll fill out certain form, that form will go to another employee, that another employee will validate whatever your signature, your identity cards, he will send to the bank manager. bank manager again will validate. So lot of complex processes used to be there, right? So idea is to reduce those complexities, right? Next is degree of divergence. How many type of services you are providing, right? Think about going to your local tiffin center, right? Your neighborhood, your wherever you stay, there will be small shops, right? How many food items they provide? 3 or 5 for maximum 8 to 10 items, right? But go to a restaurant, bigger restaurant, there might be 50 or 60 items, right? So that is the degree of divergence. Go to a small barber shop, only option available is haircut. But if you go to a bigger salon, lot many options are available, right? So that is the meaning of degree of diversion, that horizontal structure, right? How long that line is. If I write T, that horizontal line which I put first, that is the degree of divergence, how many options of services I'm providing. Or next is the depth, the line I'm putting, that is the degree of complexity, right? Uh, I'll show you certain example, then we'll again discuss this. Complexity is number of steps and sequence in processes. Think about going to a five-star restaurant, right? You will go there, a waiter will come, they'll welcome you, they'll provide glass of water, they'll like kind of your manager may come, their manager may come, they'll take your first order, then order will get processed. So think about the steps it will take if you order food in a five-star restaurant or a bigger like premium restaurant. Think about going to a McD or a KFC, right? You go there, you put your order, pay the bill or pay the amount, then take the tray, whatever. Within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, depending upon the number of people in front of you, the processes are being covered. But if you go to a bigger or premium restaurant, your order will be taken by waiter, food will be served by the another, might be another waiter, then you'll go to the bill will come, then you'll pay the bill, you'll pay tips, right? So it is a long process, complex process, right? But if you go to a fast food restaurant, in the same step, same person most of the time might be another person, right? He is putting your order, taking the order, whatever payment you make, he is also or she is also processing, right? The complexity is becoming less, right? Number of steps you kind of a customer take to get the final service, right? Divergence again, the amount of number of options the customers have or you are providing to the customers, right? So if you go to a fast food restaurant, right, number of options may be 20, 30 or 15 or whatever number of items. If you go to a five-star restaurant, options might be 100 or whatever like kind of number of options you can think of. Any food you want, you can get there, right? Object of service processes. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Object of service processes, sometimes what being kind of served on. Like if you go to a car service center, what is being serviced on, right? Your car. If you go to a dry cleaning for your clothes or clothes wash, your clothes are getting processed, right? That object becomes goods. Sometimes it is information, right? If I'm taking, let's say, this searching, I'm doing a research paper or I writing certain articles, right? What is being processed? Information. I'm searching something, and that information is coming from the Google, or might be from a book, might be from a like kind of a third party service provider, right? Or sometimes people also, right? So if you go to a, think of about any transportation system or hospitals, right? So who are being processed? So in a hospital, patient, right? As you like, if I have certain health ailments, I'll go and get checked. I'll do a health checkup and whatever problems I have, and I'll need medicines or certain kind of medical help for that. Transportation, people are moving from one place to other, right? So that who is getting processed is important. That in a transportation or a hospital, people are getting processed, right? In certain things, banks, your like kind of let's say identity management, let's say your exams, right? Your information, your exam papers are getting processed, right? Accordingly, you will get certain marks. In the bank, your credit card or your debit card information is getting processed, right? Any transaction you are making, that information is getting processed. Sometimes your goods are getting processed. Your car might be getting serviced, your clothes might be getting cleaned or washed, right? Or dry cleaned, right? So depending upon what kind of services you are availing, the object of services processes also will change, right? Then type of customer connect, right? Sometimes it is direct, you have to be there. If it is a hospital, right? Right now, people still talk, like working on the kind of virtual environment, right? Video calling or telemedicine, right? A doctor, you will call a doctor and through a video call, you will talk with the doctor and get the help what you want, right? But still, most of the places we have to go to the hospital, right? If it is a severe injury and all those things, you have to go to a hospital, right? It has to be a direct contact. Sometimes it is a no contact, right? I don't know which like server or which UPI mechanism. I want to make a payment. I do not have to interact with Google Pay or Phone Pay employees, right? That is through their server, right? No contact with their employees, right? I've just created using their mobile application and payment is being made, right? Then sometimes it is indirect. You or like let's say you have a Amazon delivery or a Flipkart delivery, right? You might not meet the seller. You might not meet the actual like person who is selling the product or services, but through a channel, through that Amazon platform or Flipkart platform, you like that product or you like the service and you are ordering that, right? Sometimes the contact might be indirect, right? So think about this way: you can go to a shop, you can buy a book or buy a whatever thing you want from a shop. That is a direct contact. Through Amazon and Flipkart, that has become a indirect and sometimes no contact also, right? So once the drone delivery happens, right, there is no contact with the employees, no contact with the human, right? So that is how your services can be redefined or redesigned, right? Any doubt on this? Degree of divergence and degree of complexity.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, urban company can also be example for degree of divergence because they have services into many segments.
No, all the companies. So it is not that only company will get into degree of divergence or degree of complexity. So think about in T, where the horizontal line will be smaller or the vertical line will be smaller, right? So all the service companies, right, will have that T structure. There will be steps which a customer need to get that service. Think about urban company or urban club, right? You need to have a account, you need to choose the service, you need to pay, advance payment has to be made, right? So those are the 3 steps or 4 steps you have to take to get the service, right? So that is the complexity. It is not a one click. Okay, I clicked and that service has been booked. I have to have an account, I have to choose the service, I have to schedule, because available from the whatever slot is available, at what point of time I need that kind of services, then I have to make a payment, then only the service I can get at the 5th step. So that is the degree of complexity. Degree of divergence will be how many different services they might be providing: saloon services, AC repair services, many kind of services, right? That is the degree of divergence, right? So do not think that okay, service only will have degree of divergence or degree of complexity. Any service you can think of will have both. What matters is which is more complex and which is less complex. Whether you have many divergence, many options available, and your complexity is less, or your complexity is more and your number of offers is very less, right? Think about a traditional bank. The complexity of creating an account is very long, right? You have to go to 5 or 6 employees before your account is created, validated, and you are able to like kind of access your account, right? Number of options that traditional bank they provide is very less. You might have a savings account and current account. You might not have a demat account. You might not have insurance, right? Right now, obviously, the things are changing. 5 years back, traditional bank only you will have a savings account or current account. That's it. But if you go to a private bank, with along with your savings account, they will provide you many more options, starting from a personal loan, starting from a credit card, starting from your demat account, insurance services, right? So those are the degree of divergence, right? Is it clear or still doubt?
Clear, sir.
So now the most important part of what I was telling you about the service blueprinting part, right? So I guess I told you before also, think about any services, right? Or not all the services, but for most of the services, right? So think that as a theater, right? Customer who are like looking at the stage, right? So they will be at this part, like looking at the stage or theater, right? So there will be employees who are at the front stage, who are providing you the services, right? Think about a restaurant, right? You have ordered food, a waiter brings the food, right? But you do not know, most of the times you do not know how the food is being prepared, right? Whether the food was being prepared fresh or was it from the last night, it is just being heated and given to you, right? Or they order from some outside cafe and gave it to you, right? You do not know what is actually happening in the backstage, right? What are the raw material they are providing, right? How those raw material is being acquired, right? So that everything what happens in the back end, right? So that is the backstage part. Front stage, so there will be certain employees in your company, right, who will be working front stage. There will be certain, think about a bank. There are people, employees who are working in the front end desk, creating your account, getting like knowing your complaint and trying to solve it. In the but back end, there will be IT people, there will be HR people, there will be finance people who are working in the back end. You need to store your information, you need servers. So IT employees will be working in the back end. So you never go and talk to the IT employee of a bank, but they are still there, they are working in the back end. Or there will be somebody who is designing the new service, there will be a business development manager creating a new product or a service. He is again in the back end, right? A customer is never going to meet him, customer is going to meet who are the front end employees, right? So at each stage of customer journey, right, starting from knowing about your product or services, think about customer journey is not about when the customer is coming and trying to get your service. It starts from knowing your services, right? And that is one big mistake people do. Customer journey, people think that okay, customer comes and trying to get your service, then only the customer journey happens. No. If I want to get a service, let's say Chinmay was talking about the urban club. Let's say I want to do AC repair, right? And I am not acquainted, I never have used urban club, right? So that first interaction, I'm going to urban club to your website. If that interaction is not happy, I went to your website within 2 seconds, or within few seconds, your website crashed. Then that is a very bad experience. I'll never go to your website again. Your services might be excellent. So customer journey, remember, from the time customer is trying to search for your information search, right? That time forward your customer journey starts. It is not that when customer is paying for your service or booking for your schedule or booking for your service, right? For a bank, right? Lot of articles, when people like try to open an account, they are like going to website and searching for comparing different banks, right? That time itself, if you have your website so well made, so well designed, a customer falls in love with you, like with your website, with your product, with your service, right? So there the customer journey happens, right? Now in a digital age, it is very much important that how your information is being conveyed. You might be an excellent restaurant, you might have a good, very good service, right? But if that information is not properly conveyed to the customer, that first step of the customer journey, knowing about your product or service, if that experience is bad, right? So let's say I want to book a AC repair service and I go to Urban Club, payment is not happening. I'm not able to get a suitable slot, right? So in the first step itself, my journey is bad, right? The AC repair person might be very like brilliant. He can repair anything. But if my first step is bad, no customer is going to avail your services, right? So remember, customer journey, each step you have to make a robust process. You have to train your people accordingly, right? Whenever there is a front stage employee, because backstage IT employee, so that is why your HR people, some of you have taken HR, that mapping up employee, who will be a front end employee, who might be preferably a back end employee, right? If you are very good at numbers, you don't want to talk to people, right? You might be into business analyst, right? You might be in the back end. But if you are okay with numbers, not that great, obviously everybody has to have a good like kind of understanding of how business works, how the like numbers add up, right? But at least you are not like very good at Excel, or you don't want to solve, get into a desk and solve only Excel files or create those things, right? You want to meet people, network people. So you should be in the front end, right? So that is where employee mapping is, or creating a good job description is very important, right? And most of the companies fail in doing that. So they list down all the qualities. None of us are perfect, right? None of us will have all the qualities, right? So they'll say that you should be good in number, you should be good in networking, you should be everything, right? It is impossible, and people start lying in their resumes or CVs, right? I can do everything, which is not true, right? And that is a lot to do with the how the job descriptions are being created. If you are taking a backend employees and you need a very good networking skill, what networking you need? You have putting that person in front of a laptop, he or she is working for 8 hours a day creating Excel spreadsheets, right? But you need a front end employee, and for that you have not got a person who is very good communicator, who can network very easily, right? Then that becomes a challenge, right? So that is where the employee kind of recruitment selection process, creating job description, right, is so much important. Most of the companies fail because they do not have good employees. Why they do not have good employees? Because last minute the job description are being created, even in the bigger companies. If job description was properly created, right, lot of problems will be solved. Then the prop physical evidence or props, right, physical or digital artifacts. Like I said, you might have excellent service, and if it is a digital service like a Zomato or Swiggy, if your website or mobile application is not good, then you'll not able to, because that is the evidence what I'm getting. Or if it is a hospital and everywhere I go, doctors may be excellent, nurses might be excellent, but it is not, it is very dirty, it is like blood is everywhere, like everywhere it is very kind of looking there, you will feel like you have gotten into a morgue, right? Then that doesn't give a confidence to a customer to visit that hospital again, right? So those are the physical evidence part. Similarly to a bank, differentiate between a government office and a private office, like kind of office of a IT company or MNC, right? How do they like kind of differentiate? Government offices, most of the times equipment will not be working, people might not be in their seat, there is no punctuality and all those things, right? Again, I'm not telling that all the offices are like that, but generally it happens like that, right? And private offices, at least, or they're like, if you want and paying certain money to a like kind of certain consultant or certain like kind of services you are getting, that differences will come into picture, right? What kind of physical evidence you are getting, physical layout, right? So that are the props or physical evidence, right? So your service blueprinting will happen taking into all the three aspects: props, that is physical evidence; people, that is your employee; and what kind of processes you have, right? So processes, point of contact. So this is your people, and evidence, right? Evidence is physical evidence, right? So let us try to understand what do you mean by service blueprinting, right? So there are certain components around service blueprinting. Let me just discuss about components, and we will try to understand it through 2 or 3 examples, right? Customer actions, right? Whenever a customer is taking or trying to avail certain services, right? So they have to conduct or carry out certain steps, right? I want to order food. I have to go to Zomato. I have to either, if I'm doing it first time, I have to download that application, create a account, right? Then, like kind of select the restaurant, select the food discount code, right? So all these steps are being done by customers, right? So these are the customer actions. If I want to open account, or if I want to travel from Bhubaneswar to Bangalore to flight, I'll go provide my ticket in the security like card. He will let me in. Then I'll check in my baggage. I'll like go through my baggage. Will go through that scanner. Then tags will be put, right. Then I'll go to the counter, show my ticket. I'll get a boarding pass, right. So all these steps, right, that is being done by customers. Right? So those are the steps in your service processes which is being carried out by customers. Those are the customer actions. And if you see, there is something called line up interaction, right? So these are visible contact employee action. These are your front end employees, right? Your customer actions, and for each of the customer actions, might be parallel some cases, right? Your front end employee actions. I go to a restaurant, when I am ordering a food, there is a waiter standing in front of me who is writing down my order items, right? So that is a front end employee, right? So that is the visible contact employee action. So customer action is ordering food, I'm putting my order. Visible contact employee actions is writing down the order, right? Similarly, if I'm going to a airport, I'm showing my whatever ticket, right? Ticket, my identity card. So that is the customer action. The employee, front desk employee, he is keying in my details, checking my ticket, checking my identity card, right? So that is the contact employee, visible contact employee actions. So wherever these two actions are being made, that is the line of interaction. So line of interaction is between the customer and the front end employee, right? So that is where the interaction is happening, right? Then the visible contact employee and invisible contact employee, there is something called line of visibility. So what is happening in the background, some part you can see, right? If you are traveling through a like kind of air flight, right? When you are booking your getting your boarding pass, your luggages are being transported. You're like carrying luggages, right? Somebody will pick it up, put into the conveyor belt, and it will go to the back end, right? To be loaded into the airport. So you do not see that your actual baggage, how it is being loaded. But some part you might see somebody taking your luggage, putting into the conveyor belt, right? That part you can see, right? So that is where the line of visibility comes into picture. So line of visibility is between front end employee and the back end employee, right? Why it is line of visibility? Because some part the customer also can see. The customer who is standing, let's say, in front of a, think about a restaurant, right? So when you go to a restaurant, you are ordering food, right? Waiter is taking your order, right? So that is the visible contact. The waiter will go and in the background, he will tell the order to the chef who will like going to prepare your food, right? Sometimes what happens, you can see that a customer can see that your order is being prepared, right? Most of the restaurant it is open, right? So somebody is preparing your order. So that is the line of visibility that interacts, but you are not directly going to the chef and telling that, okay, this is my order and prepare that. Somebody else, some that visible contact, that front end employee is going and telling to invisible back end employee, right? So that is the invisible contact, right? So whatever the customer can see, that is line of visibility. But how that chef is preparing, which kind of raw material he or she is using, where that raw material is coming, right? Customer will not able to see that, right? Most of the time, which kind of atta, which kind of oil, which kind of like meat, which kind of fish, that sourcing part, customer is not able to see, right? That is backend. You go to a bank, you want to withdraw certain money, right? So you go to the cashier, you put down your bank like passbook, put down your signature, give that check or give that withdrawal form, and the cashier is counting money and giving that to you. So that is the front end interaction. But in the back end, somebody will be carrying money to the cashier, right? Putting money in the cashier, like whatever, wherever cashier sits, right? In the back end, IT employees will be working to make sure that the systems are working properly, right? So that is the back end. So that is where the line of internal interaction work, right? Invisible contact and support processes. The hotel or the chef is order like preparing your food. For that to happen, they are sourcing the raw material, the rice, your like kind of atta, your oil, your vegetables. So all those things being kind of sourced, right? Some employees are involved in that. For your banks, IT employees are working day and night 24/7 to make sure that systems are working properly, right? So those are the support processes which are happening in the backend, right? So that is how a service blueprinting works, right? Whenever you are designing a service, think of what will be front-end employees work, what will be your back-end employees invisible contact, and what are the support processes which will be in place, right? So let us try to understand through again like so these thing we have already discussed. So these are the physical evidence, your layout, your forms, right? If somebody is going to a restaurant, how like chairs, tables, your restaurant ambience, whether music is being played, right? So all those things will come into physical ambience. Then customer actions, they are putting the order or they are providing the order details. Employee actions, which is on stage and visible, right? Think it as a theater. Some waiter is taking your order, right? If you go to the barbecue nation, the ordering style or the taking order style will be different, right? So they'll, if it is your birthday, they'll come and play music, right? So that is your front end employee work, right? So that is how it is being designed. Then line of visibility, right? Employee actions, your waiter goes and puts the order, right? Still some part customers can see, right? Backstage, invisible, some part is invisible, some part is visible. Then in the invisible part, right? Whatever employee actions and support processes, there will be certain interaction, right? Cashier is paying money to the customers, right? So whenever in a bank, cashier in front of him, there might be 1 lakh or 2 lakh amount, right? From that, he is giving whichever customer comes and withdraws money, he to him or her, he will be providing that cash, right? But that cash is being replenished by somebody else, right? Somebody is coming and putting that money, right? So it is not that cashier is going every time to the bank vault and withdrawing the cash, right? Some other support processes, some other employee, every 2 hours or every 3 hours, they are coming and putting that money, right? So that whenever a customer comes and withdraws money, cashier can provide that money, right? So those are the support processes, right? So let us try to understand through an example. Think about as a DHL or a FedEx, right? What are the physical evidences, right? Trucks which deliver packages, packaging material, forms, handheld computer. Sometimes they will be taking order through the that handheld devices, right? Or sometimes payment can be made through those POs, like point of system, like kind of point of sale devices, right? So whatever customer actions are there, customer makes a call, right? To a customer. See, these places customer service. If you, let's say, want to book a package, or let's say you want to transport certain items from your home to a new place, right? Let's say you are like shifting your house, right? So most of the times what will happen, you will call to that FedEx or DHL or whichever courier service that you want to avail services, right? You provide the details, right? So they will send the vehicle, dispatch driver. So that becomes the support processes. They will come. Now the driver is visible to you, right? Customer gives the package, driver picks up the package. This interaction, this is line up interaction, right? Because you are interacting, the customer is interacting with the driver, right? Customer, you or me, whoever has ordered the delivery services, right? Interacting with the driver. Driver again becomes here the front end employee or a contact where the contact is happening, right? Then driver takes the order, takes the packages to the like main delivery or warehouse center, to the airport or to the railway. In our case, sometimes the transportation might be happening through railways also. Then this part, right? Transportation, how your packages are being transported, at what location. Sometimes you might be sending one parcel from Bhubaneswar to Kolkata, but it might happen all the parcels are going to Hyderabad, and from Hyderabad everything is getting sorted out, and from Hyderabad the parcels are going to Kolkata, right? You never know, right? So those are the backend processes, support processes, which a customer do not know, right? Which is happening, right? Then it, let's say, reaches West Bengal or Kolkata, uh, unloading, sorting the load on a truck. Then another driver, right, delivers package and customer receives the package, right? So this is how a express delivery system works. But think about the interaction, where interaction is happening. This is the line of interaction, right? This is where the interaction is happening. These are the physical evidences. Customer. So who is interacting with whom? Customer is interacting with the front end employee, that is visible employee. There will be certain people who will be invisible, right? Whoever person took your order. Right? Then there will be obviously certain service processes, right? Support services will be working in the back end, right? To make sure that the service is being carried out properly as per the processes, right? Think about a hotel stay, right? So person comes, what are the physical evidences at each step? Customer comes to the hotel, there is a hotel parking, he parks your car, right? Arrive at the hotel. Then what is next? Gives bags to the bell person, like whoever will carry your baggages, right? So that person greets or takes baggages. That is the contact employee, front end employee, who is interacting with the customer, right? Then you start your processes, right? Desk, registration papers, these are your physical evidences, right? Think about like many hotels, they have a, like bigger hotels have a half an hour or 1 hour check-in processes. Think about a customer who just traveled 3 hours or 5 hours. then sitting in the hotel lobby for 1 hour and half an hour to complete the check-in processes. That's why most of the hotels are now trying to minimize that steps. Within 2 or 3 keystrokes, you should be registered, you should be checked in. If you have already booked, why should you wait for half an hour or 1 hour to complete the check-in processes, right? So what kind of physical evidences you have, right? Then the process registration, you might be there is might be a registration front-end employee, like kind of a receptionist who is doing those registration, right? Then in the back end, there is a hotel server, right? Where the rooms will be allocated depending upon the customer's choice. I need a seafront kind of a apartment or seafront room, right? So in that case, how it is being allocated in your hotel server system. Those are your support processes, right? Then you go to room, the customer. So each step, customer is taking certain actions, right? So these are the customer actions. Go to room, receive bags. Now the person who is carrying your bags, provide your baggages at your room. You sleep, shower, then call room services if you want food, receive food, eat. Then after staying certain days, so many days, you leave, right? So each step, there will be certain interactions. If you order food, somebody will ordering process is being taken through a telephone, right? That is invisible to you. Who is taking your order, right? But whoever delivers food, right? That waiter or the room boy, that is a front end action, right? So define for each services, you have to define what is your front end action, what is your back end action, and where the interaction is happening, right? Customer actions, employee actions, that is line of interaction, employee actions and backstage employee actions, front stage employee actions and backstage employee actions, that is line of visibility. Then backstage employee actions and support processes, that is line of internal interaction, right? Because that is happening internally. Customer will never be able to see that, right? If you are like booking your hotel room in a hotel, right? How the server is allocating room, how the IT employees are managing the server, hotel servers or hotel website, that won't be known to you, right? So that is happening in the support processes, right? So that is how a service blueprint works. Any doubt on this? Because your class exercise is based on this.
Sir,
Yes.
in the case of packaging charges, sir, this is come under physical evidence or what? In the
Packaging
case
charges.
of DHFL? Yes, sir. That is visible to the customer.
Packaging charge or packaging guy?
Packaging charges, sir. Suppose I'm parceling something and there will be some charge. What is the weight of that parcel? That comes under physical evidence, sir, or customer actions?
So that depends upon how it, like if you are weighing the, you are like in some cases you have to, like if you go to a airport, right? You have to weigh yourself. Most of the times you have to put that luggage in the tray, and it also whether it is 14 kg, 15 kg, 20 kg, right? But if you're thinking of DHL and FedEx, right? They will come to your like house, they will weigh, they'll say that okay, whether it is 10 kgs, 15 kgs, 50 kgs, right? So that is the front end employees action, right? But if you go to a airport, that will be a customer action, right? Weighing the parcel, right? In a airport, that will be customer action. But if you are like kind of taking a help of FedEx or DHL, right? They are coming to your house and weighing that, right? Measuring what is the weight, right? So that will be the front end employee action.
So, sir, in case of a Zoom car, sir, suppose I have one confusion that I am going to book a 7-seater car, and instead of that, I have going with a 9%. That is come under company side customer action or customer side customer action, sir.
Customer
Suppose
action
I
is
am taking
always the same, right? It doesn't matter whether. So what action you are taking when you are booking a car, you are going to their website or you are through a mobile application, you are booking that you are taking certain steps, right? So that is customer action. Whether you are taking 9 people or 5 people, how you are driving your car, that is your action, right? So that is
Okay,
where company might penalize you, right? In Zoom car services, there is a speed limit tracker, right? If you drive car
yes,
beyond
sir.
100 kilometer, you will be penalized, right? For each like kind of accident or each kind of wherever you are not going by the rules, you have to pay the penalty, right? In a 7-seater car, if you are taking 9 people, right? So that is your customer action, right? It remains same, but you might be penalized. That might be back end processes, right? Right. If you get a challenge from a traffic police or somewhere, so that penalty has to be borne by you, right? Not by the company.
Okay, sir.
So remember, service blueprint is an important concept. Remember where are the lineup action, lineup visibility, and lineup internal interaction. Front end employees, what is their role? Back end employees, what is their role? Right? What kind of physical evidences at each stage, right? And what are the customer actions, right? So you start with customer actions always, right? You list down, like if you see that Excel file, what I've given there, right? Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, right? It might be phase 5 or phase 6. You can add or you can reduce also, right? That is up to you. It is not necessarily there will be 4 steps. So these are the 4 steps, which means 4 steps, right? So going to, let's say, if I am, how many steps are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in this case, if you see, there are 8 steps a customer is taking, 8 phases. I can reduce it to 4 stage or 5 stage, right? That is up to me. Rather than arriving, giving back to bell person check-in, I can squeeze that into a 1 step. A customer will come, he'll say the name, check-in process will start, and by the time bell person comes, the check-in process is over. I should not have a separate 3 or 4 steps, right? So these are the phases, these are the steps, right? For each of the customer step, customer actions, right? What is your company is doing, right? There might be certain front-end steps, there might be certain back-end steps, right? Customer is parking in the car, right? Sometimes you might provide a valet parking, right? It is not that customer is doing that action on his own. You might not, you only have a physical space, right? You might not have any contact employees. But sometimes what happens, you might have a security guard or you might have a valet, right? Who will say that, okay, do the parking here or give me the car keys, I can do the parking for you, right? So that's how your design might vary, right? If it is a high-end hotel, there might be a valet parking, there might be a security guard who will take care of the parking. If it is a small hotel, there might be a place where the customer will go and do the parking, right? So that is where the only physical evidence will come picture. There is no action from the company. But in a high-end hotel, there will be employee actions, right? So think about in that way, right? For each customer action, there might be certain physical evidences, right? There might be certain company actions, right? Company actions through front-end employees or through support systems, right? When if you see into the previous example, right? When the packages or the like delivery system is working, right? So there, what is the time? So there, these step once your order being taken by the delivery guy, right? You do not have any control. Customer is not taking any action, right? But again, in some cases, customer might take certain actions. You might have to provide a system. Customer can track the. So here, if you see, there is no tracking system, but I can put on customer action. Customer wants to track the order. Then I will have a physical evidence. I might have a website. I might have a mobile application which will link to the support services wherever destination, whichever destination the packages are in, that will be shown in the mobile application or the website so that customer can track it. So one of the customer action can be here, right? That tracking of the package, right? For that, I might not have an employee associated with. It is not that customer has to call an employee to know the track of the tracking the package. I might have a website or I might have a mobile application, right? So this is how you have to think of whenever you design a service, right? So identify the processes to be printed, right? Service blueprinting. Identify the customer or customer segment, right? Again, for different customers, it might vary, right? Remember that for a hotel, some customers who have cars, some customers who do not have cars, you have to send the car to airport or to the railway station, right? The processes might vary little bit, right? So that is how, let's say for a bank, for a high-end net worth, whose net worth is very like a high net worth individual, HNIs, right? So how you treat them will be different from your regular customers, right? Your service blueprinting will be completely different. For the high net worth individuals who have 5 crore or 10 crore amount of money in your bank, you might have a designated relationship manager. They need not have to come to your bank. The relationship manager will go to their home, their house, to discuss the account process, any new investment and everything. But for the regular customers like you and me, the bank processes will still remain same. That will be different. I have to go to the bank, create account, any complaint I have to call a customer care service. But for a high net worth individual, relationship manager every week they'll make a call. Are they happy? Anything they need to improve? Right. So that is where your service blueprint will change depending upon customer segment. Similarly, for the airport, VIP customers, business travelers, economic travelers, there will be certain differences, right? Very VIP persons like prime ministers or the cabinet ministers, security processes will be completely different. They need not have to go through the regular check-in processes, right? Map the processes from the customer point of view. That is very much important. You do not just say that, okay, these are the steps. Everything need to be linked, right? For every customer action, either there will be a physical evidence or a your support processes or a front-end employee action, right? Map contact employee actions on stage and backstage, because so that is what the linkage has to happen. Customer puts the order, waiter takes the order, gives that to safe, safe acquires the material. If let's say some item raw material is not there, they put that order so that that raw material can be procured, right? So everything need to be linked. Link customer contact person activities to needed support functions. So that is the support function what we talked about. Add evidence of service at each customer action step. That is the physical evidence part, right? So not necessarily on each step you might require, wherever required, right? So let's say there is a tracking system. You do not have a tracking system, right? Then you need not have to create a website or a mobile application for tracking the packages. But if you say that I'll provide a customer service, I'm going to provide, customer can track their packages, then I have to have that mobile application or website. So that is the physical evidence I'm providing, right? So don't think that physical evidence means it will always be physical. That can be digital also in terms of a website or in terms of a mobile application, right? So I think that's it for today. Any last question on this service blueprint? Okay. So if not, I'll stop for it today. Complete your class exercise by I think Sunday, right? And try to use that template what I provided, right? You can add, you can delete columns. That is not an issue, but try to have that template. Try to use that template, and that will be useful actually when you do your final presentation to create a service blueprinting for your services. Okay. Chalo.
Sir, I missed my attendance.
Roll number.
158, sir.
Okay.